Hello, my name's Philippa Waller.
My name is Penelope Waller, and we are two of the directors at 4D Human Being.
And welcome to the 4D Human Being podcast. What's it all about, Pen?
It's all about your personal and professional relationships. It's about your communication skills, how you lead, how you work and build teams, how you are looking after yourself and your well-being, and how you are much more at choice. What do we mean by that?
Well, sometimes we can get a little caught in patterns in life, and we can all be a little bit on our automatic pilot. So 4D Human Being is all about helping us get back to choice and being a four-dimensional human being. And your fourth dimension, of course,
is intention. So whether it's about your impact, your leadership style, your team dynamics, whether it's about your well-being, whether it's about your communication or your presentation skills, anything that involves human beings interacting with other human beings, 4D Human Being are here to help.
we're going to take a deep dive and look at some tools, insights, theories that are going to help you go from a 3D human doing to a 4D human being, so that you can happen to the world rather than the world simply happening to you. Good afternoon. Welcome to the show.
I feel like we need a sort of intro jingle there.
Oh, Laura, whack us up one of those. I think we might actually have one of those.
Oh, poor Laura. It's a busy time of year. We can't ask her to produce new jingles.
We use the word
Busy, no?
Well, often around this time of year, cards and messages are about peace. And I have to say,
we haven't.
That has not been the predominant
Well,
word.
I'm still hopeful. I'm definitely hopeful.
Well, hope is the last thing to die.
Exactly. I think we are definitely in the sort of still slightly upward phase of getting everything done before Christmas.
What is that?
And then I think instead of a gentle slope down, we'll just fall off.
We'll call it, yes, the Christmas hurtle. Yeah, exactly.
I think the Christmas hurtle's happening on the 20th.
Where you just drop. It's why everyone gets in, isn't it? At Christmas, it's this sort of, it's such a concept, because really it's a week off, isn't it? Really, it's a madness. It's a madness. Anyway,
I do like it though.
The tree's up.
Oh, the tree is up. Yeah. Really pleased with I've got 2 trees this year, Phil. Yeah, I've gone crazy. Very pleased with my trees. Yeah, feeling very Christmassy.
Love it. Yeah. Love it. So, as we gear up and wishing everyone a very jolly festive time, I'm wondering if this is going to be the last
Christmas.
That I gave you my heart. I'm wondering if this is going to be the last podcast before Christmas. I think there might just be enough. We might put one out.
Would you know?
Actually, over Christmas.
Do you know? I think we should.
In case anybody needs a 4D boost.
Do you know? I think we should, because I think it's a bit like Saturday mornings, which is the highest hit rate on LinkedIn, because people want something to do.
Well, also,
people need content over Christmas.
Well, also, yes. I think also it's that Christmas is a time to absorb something other than just doing the tasks, isn't it? It's a time to reflect for many reasons. Okay, so look, this is definitely a segue. I don't know if it's a super segue, Laura, but give us a kind of, give us a segue, but a not quite so super.
A semi-jingle.
Yeah, a semi-super. A semi-super segue. It's easy for you to say. So, what we're talking about this festive season is control versus curiosity. And this is both for the festive season and to take us into New Year. And it's for life. For life.
It's like a dog.
It's like a dog. It's not just for Christmas. Exactly. So here we go. This is our gift of a dog. What I'm talking about. Here he is. This is for life. And actually, this is such a thread, a Christmas thread.
It's the gift that keeps on giving, Phil.
It's the gift that keeps on giving. It's a thread that runs through so many conversations we have, that while we're talking about impact, relationships, team dynamics, we're talking about storytelling, how to be much more intentional, all of these things. Yeah. Sort of somewhere at the centre of that often sits this, I need to control everything. And when I can't control either what's going to happen in my life, whether I'm going to have a job next year, or whether I can control what that person's doing and why are they doing it and why aren't they doing what I want them to do.
Are they an idiot?
So many of our angsts and issues and problems and limitations come
100%
from the existential to the sort of micro moments in the day, from our lives to just that one interaction, then the need to control.
Totally. And I would offer that a lot of our time is spent on what we think are the important conversations or the important thoughts or focus of life. And you can probably boil it back down to the fact that you haven't controlled something, or you don't know if you're going to be able to control something.
Well, really, that's what anxiety is,
it's not. If you can release the control, it's a whole other game in terms of how you feel about your life.
And if you can get curious, it's such a wonderful way to live. I'm going to flip it for a moment. Imagine if you could control everything. Now, initially,
do you mean me personally?
Let's use you as our case study.
I would quite like it.
Well, so I think this is it. I think the initial response is, that would be better. But now imagine the responsibility that's now on you.
Exhausting.
You to control everything.
Yeah, no, it'd be exhausting.
And everyone else would be going, but Pen, you're in control.
Yeah, I can't do anything.
I can't do it.
No, that's so true.
And if you get anything wrong, so it's an interesting one. It's like it's a bit like freedom. The people think they want endless freedom, but if you have endless choice and freedom, actually that is quite overwhelming.
Although we're not saying hold your hands up and say,
I can't do anything.
I can't do anything.
No, but this is all about the I love the serenity prayer. Give me the wisdom to the things I can control, the things I can't, and the wisdom to know the difference. Yeah. Like it really is about understanding what you can control. So we're going to give some tools and tips, and really we want to veer more into a curious mindset. And I think on a wider scale, yes, we see this a lot in terms of, as we said, relationship dynamics or, projects at work that's difficult.
Yeah.
When you can't control it, you don't know what's coming down the track. I mean, this is life.
Yes.
And more broadly, particularly as we see the markets shifting so much and people worried about that, completely understandably, uncertainty, can't control it. We're like, all Billy wants to control is whether he can have a good scratch. That that we don't know what's coming down the track. Will I have a job? How can I ensure it? All of that anxiety and worry that goes towards that. When actually there's so much of that we can't control. And all we can control is how we are showing up and responding in every moment.
Exactly.
And also the more you can release from control and move into curiosity, it's an energy that is so much more preferable to be around.
Totally. Well, it's so charming as well, isn't it? Because curiosity by its very nature means that you're focused on something other than yourself. Very charming. Yeah.
So let's go through the list of the benefits of curiosity and the downsides.
Bit of science as well.
Yeah. So we're going to go through it. So downsides of hyper control. Let's start there. So number one, you are usually pointlessly wasting time and energy because you cannot control everything. It's impossible. Number two, you're going to increase your stress and anxiety trying to hyper control things that are outside of your control. Number three, you create a negative impact on others when you are rigid, inflexible, demanding and stressed. Yeah,
sure.
We all know those people.
Yeah,
we've all been those people, let's be clear. Number four, you live with a constant fear of failure. That's often going on underneath the need to control, and you're trying to attain a level of perfectionism. And when we can let go of perfectionism, we can change our lives. And that's why I love the title of the name of our company. Sometimes it's just reminding yourself you're a human being,
yes,
and not a machine.
Yep.
Number five, here we go. You forget that you're a human being and you lose touch with your humanity and vulnerability. And this comes the self-compassion's here, isn't it? If we can go easier on ourselves. Number six, you measure life by expectations. I love this. When X happens, I will be. If only this can happen, I will be. Rather than
I just am.
I'm here right now. Exactly. Happiness is reality minus expectations. Number seven.
That's a quote from Poldy.
From Auntie Poldy books. If you haven't read those, check them out. It's very Buddhist. Not the books, but that mission statement. Number seven, missing out on new or better opportunities. It's like wearing blinkers when you need to control, because all you can think about.
You're focused in.
You're focused in, exactly. Number eight, you experience less satisfaction as you're never content because you will always be on to the next worry. So once once you've controlled the first one, that mindset will just shunt you on to the next one. Addicted to worry. A different Robert Palmer song, not addicted to love. Number 9, you become highly self-critical and self-punishing.
Was that a Christmas song?
Gonna have to face you.
What's the song where he was with some guitarist women who were in really
That wasn't a Christmas... I don't think it was a Christmas song.
Maybe it was done as a Christmas song a second time around.
Oh, it was with Bill Nye.
Oh, that's right.
We're joining the dots here. Can't control everything. Get curious. Okay, number 9, you become highly self-critical and self-punishing.
Yes.
Of course, and that links to the stress and anxiety because you can't control everything. And number 10, here's the biggie. You become super judgmental of others who let you down in your impossible quest to control everything. Why don't they just?
Or I wouldn't do it like that.
So it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because when we need to control everything, we are going to live in a state of disappointment. It's just... It's done, isn't it? Because it will never happen.
Unless, I think the only option would be unless you can somehow create a dictatorial state where everybody is a clone of you. Yes. Then you might have a chance.
That does not sound like a heavenly place. Oh my goodness. You'd be so bored though, wouldn't you? It's so uninteresting. Okay. I think we've just learned what you want for Christmas then. That would make it easier. Oh, all these people, I just get them. They're my kind of people.
They make
perfect sense. All my clones, yeah. Okay, so letting go of control, you end up with feeling much more peaceful and much more, open and delighted with what actually happens as opposed to what you're stuck in your head with, which is usually what's happening. You're stuck in your head rather than actually living and present. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Okay.
Curiosity.
Benefits of curiosity. Do you want to go for these?
Yeah, okay. So
number 1, you are 10 on the last one.
Number 1, you're going to build a growth mindset, have much more flexible thinking, literally building new and different neural pathways in your brain. Mm-hmm. Who does not want that? You're going to reduce cognitive decline. I mean, they say that, don't they? If you start learning a language later in life, the chances of Alzheimer's are significantly reduced. So definitely boosting your cognitive decline. Number 3, increasing the great leadership qualities of understanding and empathy. Focus on the other people. Mm-hmm. Ask some questions. Mm-hmm. Number 4, you're going to create new and also strengthen current relationships because people around you are going to feel really great. We want to be seen in the world. So curiosity is wonderful for relationships.
When someone says, if someone's spoken about something and then they say, what do you think?
You go,
oh, well,
that's a surprise.
Right, we're in.
Well, I remember Sandy Totsvig saying about when she goes to dinner parties, she behaves as an interviewer because she said people don't tend to ask you questions, so she just goes full in to the interview place. Yeah. And I'm like, we should all be asking questions.
Ask questions.
Number 5, you become more resilient to deal with difficult feelings. This is partly about boosting that ego. Thinking about stepping into curiosity. Number 6, you experience far less boredom. Get curious. My dad always used to say that. Number 7, you increase your positivity. Fear and curiosity cannot coexist at the same time in your brain. So increase positivity. Number 8, you can grow your creativity and problem-solving skills with new ideas and input. Number 9, develop your wonderful, wonderful self-awareness, recognizing strengths and limitations about yourself. Get curious about yourself. And number 10, you have the physical, emotional and mental energy that you can really do what you want, step in, play.
I think that's a big one, releasing the energy that goes to the worry.
Well, do you know, I had this exact conversation with a coaching client this morning and talking about, when there are lots and lots of problems at work that you're dealing with and things don't always go well or go right, and you find that you sort of are often explaining yourself or explaining why decisions were made or sort of justifying why things were done. And while sometimes we do have to do that, you could just say, what do you think might have happened? Or what do you think we should do differently next time? Like, ask a question and you don't have to worry about all those explanations.
Exactly. Explore it. Yeah. Tell me what's been going on here, Explain a bit more. Describe to me what the experience has been like. Let's find out. Get curious. Exactly. I mean, if nothing else, it's going to buy you some time. Exactly. So, of course, there is a biological, evolutionary reason for control because we needed to be hyper vigilant. We needed to try to control our environment. Things were unsafe.
Survival. Literally.
I mean, we as we evolved, I love thinking about this. When people say, "Oh, we've never lived in such a dangerous time," I'm like, it's not true. I mean, there was a time where you didn't know if going another 5 steps in that direction, you were going to fall into a vat of fire. You didn't know your terrain.
No.
We hadn't mapped the world.
Surely we must be living in one of the safest times ever. I mean, surely in medieval times it was more likely you were going to die of disease or
if you cut your finger, you got an infection.
Yeah.
So anyway, so there are historically very good reasons for that, and it's like anything. It's like some of it's useful.
Yes.
It's the tip into overdrive, and so many of us are tipping ourselves through the need to control, because at the base of it all, of course, we are human beings, and there is this sort of existential, we don't know what's coming next.
We're trying to survive.
We can't predict the future. I mean, that is true. But all the time that we're trying to cling and trying to control that, we are in anxiety and worry, and that means we're in fight or flight.
But we have so much more stimulus to think about on what is a very old piece of hardware. So like we were talking about earlier today, if in the past we had to worry about 3 or 4 things that might mean our demise, a saber-toothed tiger or another tribe, whatever it might be. Of course, now if I even think about the house that I live in and the number of objects in there, the furniture and the water's coming through the tap and the electricity and all of these things that we are surrounded by, we now have so much more stimulus that we can worry about other than things that are literally going to mean our survival or not. And we allow all of these things to sort of trigger that hardware around having control over things. Yeah. And it's a bit of a crazy volume of stuff.
And it will just eat us up.
Yeah.
Exactly as we said earlier, that you might solve one thing, but that negative bias will just click you onto the next thing. And once that cortisol is up, once that adrenaline is up, your fight or flight is in, you're going to find things.
Yeah.
You'll find things that you're unable to control. The exactly like you say, the leaking tap, that if you can't get in touch with a plumber, you can't control it.
Yes.
And so,
and then it builds up.
On it goes. So we have to be very conscious of it. And this is partly why we love this topic, because it's such a challenging way to live when we're trying to control all the time. And that pattern will not change until you fire up your 4th dimension. Like, it's going to keep rolling, because that's all that system knows to do.
Yeah.
All it knows in that fight or flight, once you're living at quite a sort of constant stress in the fight or flight, all that system knows to do is to find danger, and to try to control and manage. So you have to regulate, you have to breathe, and you have to fire up your 4th dimension and make a choice. And this is where we can switch into curiosity. Now, what happens, Pen, when we switch from fear of failure or need to control into curiosity in terms of the emotional kind of steps?
Yeah, well, lots of things happen in the brain, which we'll talk about. But the wonderful thing about curiosity is if you think about your emotions on a scale from, severe negative emotions right up to more subtle negative emotions, and then into
so from sort of rage or despair
into
up to
concern,
sort of frustration or concern or worry,
and then you start moving into those more positive emotions of calm or balance, and then you're going to go right up to joy and excitement,
exhilaration.
Yeah, think of it as a scale going from low right up to high. Right bang in the middle of those emotions is curiosity. It's the emotion that flips us between the negative emotion and the positive emotion. And the thing about curiosity is it's a pretty neutral emotion, but dialing it up and tapping into it changes your limbic system in your brain. And curiosity and fear, anxiety, those negative emotions cannot coexist.
So it's the portal to positivity.
It's literally the portal to positivity.
Yeah, Phil. It's the doorway.
That's literally what it is. And you haven't got to try and convince yourself if you're not feeling
happy or something.
Exactly. If you're not feeling great, you haven't got to convince yourself, I just should be joyous. You've just got to get curious. It'll do the first massive step for you in terms of the hormones it's releasing in your brain. It will flip you out of that negative state, because you cannot have curiosity and fear or anxiety at the same time.
So
I love that.
I love that as well. So it's the gateway to the pleasure garden.
Yeah,
I love it.
A quick word
word from us at 4D Human Being. If you're enjoying the show, please do click follow so that you can have the 4D Human Being podcast instantly in your feed. And we'd love it if you liked and reviewed us. Let us know what you think.
Please do think of one or two people that you could share the 4D Human Being podcast with. Somebody who would really benefit from the content you're listening to right now. Back to the show.
I love it. So, yes, absolutely. And that also flips. If we can, from a state of this needs to happen, if we can go to, I'm wondering what's going on here, or I'm wondering what one thing, or I'm wondering what your experience is here.
And I would offer on that one way to do it, of course, is to get curious about somebody else or get curious about a situation. I wonder why that's happened. Or I wonder... Something that we love to do is turn that curiosity on ourselves. And, you know, this is all part of human and leadership development. It's the part that I particularly really love, is holding that mirror up to yourself. And when you behave in a certain way, or think in a certain way, or react in a certain way, is if you can catch yourself and get curious about that response, go, oh, that was interesting that I felt like that.
Yeah.
That in itself will completely change your state.
Yeah, and there is deep work there as well if you choose to do it, because actually sometimes this need to control has come from very young trauma, or very, or difficult times in our youth where we didn't feel safe and held. And so as a child, you learn to hyper control to try to do that for yourself. Now, it's a strategy, and it did something for you as a child.
Yeah.
And we have to always remember with these things that strategies wear out, and we can reflect on them by, exactly as you say, holding the mirror up, saying, oh, what's happening here? Oh, my whole system desperately wants to feel safe.
Yeah.
So we can shift then from, oh, I need to solve this problem and control what everyone's doing, to human connection, for example, because that's going to make me feel safe, or a cuddle with my dog, or to go and learn something, because again, learning something is a very safe space. So we can use that notion of, oh, what's happened here? Oh, I've been triggered into threat. I'm feeling unsafe. This is how I dealt with it as a child. What do I need to do now? And we can change the way that we respond to it. And that's what's really exciting about it. And I love that work.
Totally.
So in terms of chemistry, you shift from releasing all of those stress hormones to releasing dopamine into your brain. And dopamine is very motivating and very sort of goal orientated. It wants us to act, it wants us to move, wants us to find things out. And you're releasing all that lovely chemistry. Very, very connected to the motivating, our own motivation. So there's a couple of things that I want to offer. So I've got sort of 6 tips to switch.
Yeah.
And we've got a couple of models that we really love. So let's start with the models and then we'll go to the tips. So one of the things that I love is when we're trying to control, we might sometimes be dealing in the present moment if we're having a conversation with somebody trying to get them to do something. But most of our energy is either trying to relive the past and try and change it in our heads. Why didn't they? I should have. What if I had? Or it's going into the future.
Yes.
It needs to be, how can I make sure that it is? So we're not really in the present. So one really good tip is to ask yourself these 4 questions. And these are my absolute favourite 4 questions.
You've been loving this.
I've been loving these. Here's your 4 questions to yourself. When you're in a hyper control and you're frustrated because guess what? You can't control everything. Here are your 4 questions. 1, are you breathing? Sounds really obvious, but one of the things that starts to get caught in the control is we literally stop breathing. Number 2, are you present? Are you here in the room or the space that you're in? Can you see the trees, the furniture, the window, the mug of tea you're drinking from? Are you here? Because your need to control will often take you into your head and away from here. So are you breathing? Are you present? Number 3, is this useful? Is this thinking useful? I mean, it's such a good question, isn't it? And number 4, will I care about this in a year's time?
Do you know, I love that one.
I love that. Will I care about this in a year's time? So, are you breathing? Are you present? Is this useful? Will I care about it in a year's time? And I think those 4 questions are very, very helpful to do some of that. While we can do some breathing techniques, that's a really good cognitive interrupt. So while your brain is busy trying to control and trying to solve, you can interrupt it intellectually with 4 different questions. And I love that idea that we've got our prefrontal cortex going like billio, trying to solve things, and we come in with a different, it's almost like, in the boxing ring, you go, I'm going to come in with 4 other cognitive questions.
Yeah. Let's see what happens.
Let's see what happens here.
I'm going to change the game.
Yeah, going to change the game.
I often use the analogy of ping pong with clients that I'm working with, where somebody's popped a ping pong ball over to you. They picked up their bat and we just we pick up the ping pong ball because very often because we want to control something, we want to win something, whatever it might be. And very often they would just pop that ping pong back down and I'll ask them about what they're doing.
Well, what's so nice about that is that if somebody probably expects you to go into hyper control, you are going to double down on a win if you not only don't go into hyper control, but ask them how they're doing, what's going on for them, what's one thing that you might be able to help with, why don't we take some time out and have some
surprising
lunch? They'll be like, what's going on? And they'll be so thrown. And that's such a wonderful thing to do, is to interrupt your patterns. Otherwise everyone's just playing the same game. Exactly.
And the other one we like is the worry tree. Love the worry tree. So the question right at the top of the Christmas tree is, what are you trying to control?
Yeah.
And as you go down the tree, you're hit with this question. And the question you're asked as you go down the tree is, can I do anything? If the answer to that is no, find a way to connect and distract yourself and get curious.
Yeah, so go and learn something, go and ask yourself some questions, go and do something different. Go and feed some curiosity about anything at all. Could be about that topic, but it could be about something completely
because there's nothing you can do.
Nothing you can do.
If, on the other hand, when you get asked that first question, it's, can I do anything about this? And the answer is yes, you go down the tree a bit further and then you've got another question. What, when and how? And if the answer to when is later, then you just shuffle over to the other part of the tree and you still hit the get curious, go and do something different, go and engage with somebody, go and connect. Exactly. If, on the other hand, the answer to that second question is, when can you do something now? Do it.
It's very simple.
And
do it.
That's it.
Yeah.
That is your Christmas tree of curiosity.
I love that. So if you can control it and you can do something about it,
do it.
And if you can't, go and do something. Go and
get curious about something else.
Remember that TV show? What was that TV show when we were younger? Go and do something less boring instead.
Why don't you?
Yeah, exactly. So anybody our age from the UK will remember that TV show. So exactly that. So what I love about that, again, is that in amongst the kind of whirlwind of anxiety when we're trying to control and worry about, especially when it's things that we can't control, we're caught in these thoughts just popping into our head, and this sort of vortex, this chaos of thinking. And what I love about this is the clarity, the binary.
Really simple.
So simple. Can I do something?
Can I do it now?
Can I do it now? Go and do it. Can I do something? No. Go and do something else. Like, it's just wonderful. And I think there's nothing, what I love about this topic of curiosity versus control is, again, and we've said this before, the most precious commodity that you have in your life is your attention. Yeah. And if all of your attention is going pointlessly on overthinking around things that you cannot control, that's madness. That's your life. Yeah. That's like sort of flushing money down the toilet. It's a total waste of time. Go and do something else.
Get curious. And also, we do often say, don't we, about curiosity, when people are thinking about, perhaps they've had a difficult time in their lives and they think they should be taking a different direction and doing something different, or perhaps they're trying to sort of discover a little bit more about their identity and who they are and what drives them. And, often in coaching, we can have those type of conversations. And people can also get stuck in thinking, well, what is the thing that I should focus on and do and get curious about? And we would say, it almost doesn't matter. It
almost doesn't matter.
Just get curious about anything, because once you've opened one door, if you stay curious, doors will just keep opening. That's exactly
right, Pen. It's exactly right. If you do one thing, it's the Steve Jobs, you can only join the dots backwards. And you want to catch that voice in your head that's going, well, this is a bit pointless. I should be worrying about the kitchen oven. That's the voice to catch, because that's the one that's stopping you opening some other doors. It wants to keep you stuck. There's a part of us that wants to stay stuck, because even though it's anxiety provoking, it's known. Yes. It's familiar. So we know this wheel of anxiety and trying to control. So it's very unpleasant, but we know it.
Yes.
So we'll stay on it.
I don't think you spend much time worrying about your oven. Am I right?
I really don't. I really don't. That's what my oven worries more about me than I worry about it. Okay. So we're going to give some tips on switching to a curious mindset. So firstly, deep breaths. So 5 long, deep breaths. So as I said earlier, what will often happen when we're trying to hyper-control is we'll stop breathing or we'll shallow breathe. So one of the first things you can do is almost like get curious about your body, like fill your body up with breath and say, I'm here. I'm going to give my body what it needs to get present, because all of that energy is going into your head.
Yep.
Give your lungs and diaphragm some of that energy. Take some breaths.
Yep.
Get mindful. Notice what is right in front of you. I remember, I'm going to totally hang you out to dry here. I remember a conversation with you where you had some sort of business concern or a kind of question. We were on the phone and we were both walking in the woods, different woods with our dogs. And I said to you, Pen, God, that bird song is amazing. And you said, what birds? And it was such a, and we ended up laughing about it because you'd been walking along
thinking about
something from work, which, there's nothing wrong with that. But what it does is it takes us away.
You can't hear anything.
You can't hear the birds, you can't see the birds or the sky or whatever it is. So, and another way to really simply trigger that shift into curiosity is look at something that's right in front of you. Because if you think about curiosity, like Sherlock Holmes, that is quite literally what it is. It's looking at something new, isn't it? So look, number 3, get support from your colleagues or friends. Absolutely. We are often stuck in our own heads trying to control. And as soon as we talk to somebody, we've relinquished a little bit of that control, because they're going to probably at least alleviate some of our emotions by saying, oh yes, no, you're right, you should be angry, but or they'll help us out of that.
The other thing as well, of course, is if you have quite high levels of anxiety because you want to control things, if someone dear to you is suddenly in need and you have to really switch your focus to getting curious about them, asking how they are, what they need, it's a really good example of what's happening in your brain, that for a lot of us, it can be that literally those feelings we had 5 seconds ago completely dissipate.
100%.
Because the dopamine has kicked in with the curiosity and the care, and they can't coexist. So it does happen to us, and sometimes it happens in quite dramatic situations. We have control over that all of the time. Sometimes we have to get curious because there's a crisis on our hands, but you have the choice at all times.
Well, exactly. And actually, one of the things I think is a really nice thing to do when you know you've got caught up with your own controlling mind and your own need to sort of solve, fix things, worry, is exactly that a friend might not call in need, or a family member, but you could actually suddenly ask yourself, well, who's one person I could message to ask how they are? It's because that totally shifts your brain state, exactly as you say. And that is always available. There's always a neighbour to ask, how are you? Number 4, take action. As we said earlier, down the worry tree, do something. And that, if you're not moving, if you're sitting thinking or pacing and thinking, ask yourself, what could your body, hands, feet do that would actually do something? Do you need to write something or go somewhere? Number 5, get curious, ask a question rather than trying to fix something. And number 6, I love this, refocus your mind on what is working well.
We have a very strong negative bias.
When we're trying who does love you? Who does care for you?
What's really interesting is when we're trying to control things, like if I think about the basement room in my house at the moment, like it's not good. I've had a little mini flood in there, and it's not great. And I could get quite anxious about the control around it, that it's not ready for Christmas. But if I think about what I have done and what I have controlled, I could really appreciate what I've stepped into, what the builder has stepped into. Great. But we tend to focus on the stuff that is out of our control. We haven't done yet. We're going to worry about it. And yet there's so much stuff that we probably have controlled really well.
I love that. And I have an example. I had an example of that with a leak in a ceiling some time ago, and the frustration of not being able to fix it. And people had tried to, and it wasn't working. And then one day I sort of got a plan, and I thought, I'm going to do one thing and then
Stop.
and then analyse it, and then just wait and see where the rain gets in.
Yeah.
And I started getting curious, and I sort of went up into the roof and went, oh, is water coming in? No water after that rain. All right. And it became this experiment, and it totally shifted my role in it from sort of victim of something I can't control to the researcher.
Yeah.
It was brilliant. So exactly, become curious, become your own researcher. It's such a wonderful role to take, you know. Good. So that is curiosity versus control. So something really wonderful to think about for 2025. Are you entering into next year and Christmas, by the way?
Well, I was going to say, if you find any kind of friction at Christmas, just ask a question.
Yeah.
Just change the subject and ask a question.
Yeah.
That is the biggest Christmas gift.
Even if that question is, do you know what time you'll be leaving? but really though, get curious. What else could you do? What else could you be doing? Where else could you go? Who else could you talk to? And for the coming year, what might be possible?
Yeah.
As we sit here in December 2024 and we've no idea
You cannot control
what December 2025 will bring.
Totally.
So let's get curious.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the 4D Human Being podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.
Do take on board some of the insights, tools and tips, because every time that you try something new to get back to choice, you are making a vote for the you that you want to become. And I love that phrase, Pen.
I do too. And please do share this episode with somebody that you know would really benefit from the lessons and learnings we've been chatting about today.
And of course, if you're interested in more from 4D Human Being, do get in touch. We run workshops, trainings, online, in-person, conference events and keynotes. We've got the 4D On Demand platform for your whole organisation. And we do have a free Essentials membership where anybody can sign up for absolutely free to access some of our insights, tools and tips. So do get in touch with us if you'd like to hear more. We cannot wait to hear from you and to carry on the conversation.